Welcome to Adamson and Partners Leadership Series, where we interview luminaries in the world of legal and IP. Joining us here today is Marcela Kirberger, General Counsel, Corporate Secretary, Chief Compliance Officer at Roche Diagnostics. Thank you very much for being here with us today, Marcela.
Thank you so much, Rene. It's a pleasure.
Now, for those of you who are not familiar with Marcela's background, she has been in the legal profession for the past 20 years or so. Starting her career in private practice at Lowenstein Sandler, she has since worked for a number of iconic brands, including Nestle Nutrition, Novartis, Sandoz, and Leica Microsystems. Currently leading all legal and compliance matters in North America for Roche, the #1 diagnostic company in the world. She heads up a team of 25 associates across 6 divisions, including commercial, compliance, regulatory, privacy, operation, as well as labor and employment. On a more personal level, Marcela has an incredibly interesting background. As I understand, you grew up in Argentina, qualified as a lawyer in the US, and you've also spent quite a few years working in Germany and leading global teams before returning to the US. Now, before we talk about all that, let us go back to the very beginning, Marcela. What inspired you to pursue a career in law in the first place?
Thank you, Rene. I've always wanted to be a lawyer. I don't know if this is an anomaly or not, but since I was a little girl in Argentina, I was exposed via the news and family members to diplomats and people who worked in diffusing tough problems and bringing people to the table to find solutions. And I always thought I wanted to be a diplomat growing up, and I knew that a path to be that, you had to be a lawyer. And so I always thought that I was going to go to law school. There was never a question in my mind. And that's what I did. In Argentina, you leave high school and you go straight to law school. There's no undergrad. And so at 17 or 18, I joined the Catholic University of Argentina. And 7 years later, I graduated with a JD in Buenos Aires, Argentina, before I came to the US.
Right. And of course, you worked initially in the law firm. How did you find the transition going from a private practice attorney to an in-house into an in-house counsel? What was it like for you?
Every transition that I've had in a different area of the law has been so enriching for me, and not just professionally, but personally. After I went back to law school in New Jersey and the US, I clerked for a year in the appellate division in Hackensack, and that was an amazing experience. And I was subject to many different areas of the law, and I loved it. Had a great experience with my co-clerks there too, and the judge for whom I worked. And then I went to the law firm. From the law firm, I did several years as a securities litigator, and then I went I joined Gerber Products Company, which was at that time the largest baby food company in the world, I think. And it was just an amazing experience at the law firm. I loved it for the time that I was there. I was a subject matter expert though, right? And so I, as a lawyer, as a litigator of securities, you do a certain thing, you take care of certain pieces of a problem for a client, and going in-house, especially at a company. Gerber was owned by Novartis back then. I turned from a litigator into a commercial lawyer overnight. It was just, Marcela, you are responsible for supply contracts and distribution and all commercial issues. Plus I had a litigation docket. And so I had to learn overnight commercial contracts, and I just absolutely loved it. Loved the commercial aspect, loved the fact that I had a lot of foot traffic into my office from people in the business, marketing, sales, manufacturing. And I just found it exhilarating, entrepreneurial, like I was able to add value in several different areas. And that's what kept me in-house for so long. I just love the fact that as a lawyer in-house, you develop this enterprise mindset, right? You're just not playing in your lane, in your area of expertise, but you're just expanding your breadth of knowledge and your experience and your impact significantly. So that's what I loved. I loved the transition from law firm to in-house.
Right. And of course, you also worked 5 years in Germany as well prior to taking up your current position. What attracted you to join Roche, and what do you enjoy the most about your current role?
So 5 years that I spent in Germany were priceless. from both a professional and personal perspective. When I went there, I took a completely different job. I was, in 2014, I was a lead counsel for one of the largest business units at Novartis in the US. And when I went to Germany, I took over a chief compliance officer role for Sandoz, which was, it is the generics and biopharma arm of Novartis. So my mindset had to shift, right, from being a lawyer through and through to being now a compliance officer. I believe it's a complementary skill set, and you need to develop a certain mindset to be a successful compliance officer. I loved my time in Germany. As I said, I moved from Sandoz to Leica Microsystems, where you and I met, and I was a global GC there. Absolutely another incredible experience to learn a different company, different business, different culture. The Danaher culture, as you know, is it's very particular. It's incredible, the amount of things that I've learned in terms of how from a legal perspective you can impact the company, how you can develop KPIs and metrics and legal that have deep meaning for the company, for the business. You develop a set of vocabulary too that everybody in the company learns and understands. Everybody speaks the same language. So that was another incredible experience for me. A lot of growth. And by the time we were ready to come back to the US, the Roche opportunity opened up. And for me, having been a pharma lawyer for a long time, Roche represents, it's an incredible brand, right? It represents trust, it represents sustainability, respect for the communities and societies where this company is. And it was just, again, designated named one of the most sustainable, the most sustainable healthcare company in the world for the 11th year in a row. So that's all that I can say. It's a privilege to work for this company.
Absolutely, yeah. And of course, of all the companies you've worked for, they also come from various different industry sector. What do you think is really unique about working as a chief legal officer of a pharma company compared to all others?
So I've always been attracted to businesses where there's always a direct impact on a consumer, a patient, a person. So I love consumer goods, but pharma, right? I mean, the fact that and I believe it, that we, within legal, compliance, privacy, have a direct impact on a patient. We enable the organization to put out solutions that improve people's lives, health-wise. It's incredible. It's a mission, right? And so I think I could speak for all of the healthcare lawyers out there. You really feel that you're making a difference, and that's how I've always felt. And perhaps that is the difference. I don't know. I did start as a paralegal in the telecommunications arena many years ago, and it feels a little different. For me, I guess I found my calling in the consumer products, pharma areas.
Yeah, and throughout your career, you've obviously worked at the front line of the company's legal function, and I'm sure that there have been many occasions where you had to navigate through some very challenging and stressful situation that could really make or break a company. What would you say your greatest successes have been so far?
I think anyone, and to your point, in my position, in legal and compliance and privacy, people have to go through sometimes excruciating challenges. I think the success is what is the end result, right? I mean, I think that success is, from my experience, are you doing the best thing for patients? Are you doing the best thing for the end consumer, right? For the person on the other side? And I've been lucky enough that in the companies that I worked at, that has always been the end goal and the motto. And so challenges from, you name it, right? And working for pharma and consumer products, you have recalls, label changes, you have complaints by customers, or you may have data breach issues and HR issues, but for me, the successes have been really working as a team with my team and with others in the companies that I've been at, listening to what the experts have to say, having the right people at the table, and coming to a solution that in the end does the right thing for whoever is on the other end. And in the end, that impacts, of course, the organization. So.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And I mean, looking at the pharmaceutical industry and the legal profession as a whole, they've historically been quite male dominated. Do you have any personal stories that you can share in terms of combating gender biases?
I think we spoke about this once. I've been very lucky in that I've had great male and female mentors. I've always sought out people who could show me the way or help me or give me feedback as to where I could get better. And throughout my career, and I still think of them regularly, and I'm still in contact with many of them. But for me, if I were, my younger me, and the advice that I would give myself is just seek out people that you have an affinity with, whether they're male or female, and ask for help, and ask for support, and ask for guidance. And there's so many people out there that are willing to help you. And so I've had, my share of challenges as anybody else has had, I think, and I can recall a couple. And but I've always was very honest with myself. If this is not going to work out with this person, especially if you're in a manager associate relationship, you have to have that honest conversation with yourself about, is it time to move on, right? If things are not going to change, and if you can't change somebody, and that's usually the case, is it time to move on? And I've made those decisions as well, right? But what has helped me is truly finding people that I have an affinity with, and that can help me. And that's, today I feel that that's my role with a lot of people that I mentor, and that I help out, prior companies, current company, people outside of legal. It's I think we all have to pay it forward. I think a lot of people received help. I heard somebody say a couple of weeks ago, as you climb, lift. As you climb, lift, right? And that's sort of like, that's encapsulates what I love to do, right? As I transition and take different roles, I think the biggest accomplishment that anybody can have is to see people that were in your team and that you helped blossom, flourish, get better jobs, get promotions, just come into their own. And to a point before about what have been your greatest accomplishments, if I look at what makes me the happiest, it's not really my accomplishments at this point in my career, but bringing people along the way, and seeing team members who still tell me that, they've gotten huge promotions, global jobs that they left for a bigger role. And yeah.
No, that's really remarkable. And I think I certainly can attest to people that I've placed at your organization who have said really nice things about you. Now, diversity and inclusion is a very big topic these days, as we all know. And as an executive search service provider, we have noticed for some time that companies are actively demanding gender balance and diversity in our shortlist selection. Is there anything that you think companies can do more of to narrow the gender equality gap and deal with unconscious biases?
I think a lot of companies are doing that, right? Taking an active interest in investing in this area, and it's a broad range of solutions that companies are investing in, from having those honest unity circle conversations about equity, and having clear goals and metrics in terms of the hiring process, having open and honest conversations about the culture in a company, and then investing in the community, deeply investing in the community and those causes that advance that equity. And a lot of companies are doing that. My company is doing that. We are doing that from a legal perspective as well. That is at the forefront of how we look to hire people. The makeup of the legal department, it's incredibly important in terms of the impact on the whole organization. And so those are at the forefront of how I view the impact that we have on diversity and what I think companies are really taking to heart.
Mm-hmm. Finally, if you didn't become a lawyer, Marcela, what career path would you have chosen?
If I didn't become a lawyer, I would have probably had a bakery, or just I would have just lived on some beach and made necklaces for a living. I do love the beach, and just the idea of having a little hut and just making necklaces in a Caribbean beach, that made me very happy.
Yeah. Well, look, Marcela, thank you once again for sitting down with us today and sharing such wonderful personal stories and insight. I very much enjoyed that.